might be around, but
Sound check, picture check as usual. Happy New Year, everybody. It's me, Johnny, or not Johnny as the case may be. You know, braving my outbreak of nearly fatal man flu to come here to Hamburg and do this, because who wouldn't? Tell me, yeah, okay, video and audio fine, that's what we want to hear. I do feel slightly under the weather, so this will not be a marathon session. This will be between 90 minutes and 2 hours of chess. But there will be marathon sessions starting tomorrow, because obviously Vike is a very special event which has a very special place in our hearts, because it never ends. And, well, mainly it never ends. Anyway, bye Jan, and once again a reminder, Tata Steel Vike tournament starts tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. I assume it always is 1:30 p.m. Central European. We will be covering it. This year it's not a premium show, so do tune in and listen to us completely lose our mind by the 7th hour. Should be fun. There's an intruder in the studio. There's an extruder in the studio, actually. Jan has left me. I feel very, very lonely now and forlorn and don't know what to do with myself. I guess I'll play some chess. And on that note, let's see if anything breaks down. And this is my highly promising position I got against Claudia, and then I just decided to resign because that's my brand. Anyway, let's have a look what we have here. Let me just warm up by something mildly manageable, and then we'll see how that goes. Okay, clocks are in place, names are in place. We appear to be off to the races, and we'll start with the Sicilian as usual. Not the usual Sicilian, though. I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to think about this particular sideline. And the way my opponent has been playing it, I'm kind of very tempted to do this. Nikitano resign, new line. No, it's the same old Nikitano I've been sporting for a while. I don't know about knight c5 either, but I really dislike queen c2, because why are you giving me basically 2 full tempi to play bishop f5 here? I think knight b3 my opponent would actually have been completely fine at the very least. He might still be, but there's really no reason to give black 2 tempi to do as he pleases. Mildly manageable, says Carnicero. That's some real trash talk. Yeah, you know me. I am the world champion of trash talk. Not. And finally, knight b3 does happen, but by this point we've managed to evacuate most of our stuff away from where, it would have been a problem. After knight d4, I mean, there is definitely some argument for just taking, but I thought bishop d7 is kind of more flexible. There's definitely an argument for taking and playing d5 here, but... Hey, Oli. I was not aware there was a basement. Yeah, this came as breaking news to me when I showed up upstairs and there was a meeting going on and all kinds of new faces, and people kind of politely steered me away from the adult talk and told me that, your place is below stairs. So now we're a pawn up and should be... I wanted to play d5, but blundering knight b5 is probably not necessary right now. If you give white an additional pawn on e4 in this position, the position is roughly equal. So, as a general rule of thumb, if adding a very healthy central pawn to your opponent's position doesn't really make his position better, you're probably doing very well. I would like to play bishop f8 c5 here. I mean, rook d2 was a move, but yeah, this is slightly awkward because I don't want the queen side to disappear, obviously. I would very much like to keep as much of the queen side on the board as possible. So I'll have to make a few semi-awkward moves here before we completely stabilize and start making progress. I'll play h5 here just on sort of on general grounds to make sure there are never any back rank issues, and bishop d4 probably was stronger, but we're not really in any hurry. There's also the rook c4, rook a4 maneuver, which probably is quite strong, but once again, there's really no reason for me to force things here. Let's make this into a bit of a technical demonstration, and then it completely backfires, and I fail to win, and it kind of looks very awkward. But like these positions are sometimes sort of mildly awkward, even without black having an extra pawn. And I just wanted to demonstrate, you know, how awkward they can be with an extra pawn. I don't know if that really needed demonstrating. I think it's kind of self-evident, but actually allowing rook b4 check here was probably, but I think I should be forced. If he goes rook b4 check, I take, I go king f3, king takes f2, and then the e pawn just runs. And obviously leaving the a pawn unprise is not going to improve things for my opponent. Okay. No, that's not lemsip. That's actually coffee. But lemsip is a very good idea. I have some stashed away in the room, planning to do it later. Apologies for the intermittent sniffling, which will be, I think, a constant feature, at least of the first couple of days of, well, obviously this, and also I think the first couple of days of the Tata Steel coverage. That's not a chess 24 mark. This is, though. This one doesn't appear to be starting, so we'll give it another 3 seconds and choose another one. Whoops. I almost got away with it. You know, I was like about a second and a half away from not having to play the French. Happiness, it always is like a blink of an eye away, and then it's gone. That's generally, I think, how life is. Yeah, and here I would really prefer to have an idea of what I'm doing, but I don't. And actually, it took me like 5 seconds to realize that if he takes on d4 with everything, I have bishop g6 check in the end. So I'm not at my, you know, brightest today, quite clearly. I was very worried I was blundering the d4 pawn here, which is kind of alarming. How were my holidays? My holidays were spent, well, in less of a food coma that you know your normal Russian holidays are, but still somewhat food coma-ish, and also regrettably kind of ill, which is never great for the holiday season. I think I'm supposed to play b4 if he allows me. I think this should be advantageous for me in general. If I can trade the pawn on e5, which I don't actually even want necessarily, it's kind of in the way of my own initiative in many cases. And if I can trade it for the c5 pawn, I think I should be reasonably happy with this. The big question is, well, once again, I was about to suggest black playing d4, but it just loses a pawn. Yeah, obviously if I could play knight b1 f3 here, I'd be completely winning. But I'm actually kind of interested enough in playing... Yeah, no, let's not do that. Let's maybe do this. I'm not entirely sure he cannot take on f4, but I kind of want to encourage some opening of the files. And I really don't care about the c3 pawn. This much I know, that like there will be no protecting of the c3 pawn in this game. If he wants to develop more of my pieces and open more of the files for me by taking on c3, he is entirely welcome to it. And yeah, and this should be very very nice. Now the big cosmetic question here is, do we go for bishop d4 knight e5 setups or for bishop e5 and knight d4 setups? But I think we start by just playing rook c1, and in some cases we might actually be interested in playing c3 c4. So, and I keep on blundering the f4 pawn actually, which is not entirely smart, and this was actually an honest blunder. I wasn't blundering it before, but I am definitely blundering it here. Much less worried about this in general, although this is a sensible move, because if I take on g7, apart from the f4 pawn hanging, there will also be a threat of knight e3, which I will have to. Hang on a second, I can just play h3 here. That kind of completely refutes the previous move, because if he takes on d4, I take with the pawn and his queen is hanging. So he's actually not on time here to do everything he has to do, and he basically has to go back to f6, which is clearly not what you would want here with black. I'm kind of leaning towards bishop e5, knight d4. I think it's more harmonious, but I don't know. Both look very nice, in particular when your opponent just gives you a couple of tempi for nothing. Chicken is a better vegetable, says Vanderwaal. Hard to disagree. The f4 pawn is kind of hanging now, and if I go knight e5, I allow knight f5, and he kind of chases my good pieces away a little bit. So I'll go with this just on general grounds to make sure I get the dark squares off. Dark square bishops off, I mean. Because knight e5, knight f5 would maybe force me to take on f5 with the bishop, and I didn't really want to make that trade unforced. This is a good move, though. I completely missed it. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a struggle, this stream. I can see that already. I'm kind of mildly interested in knight takes g6, queen g4, but there's a move knight h8, which is probably the only move that black can make in that position, but it's good enough. That cannot be allowed. Yeah, just completely missing knight f7 was not great in that position. Knight g4, I mean, if he goes knight h6, at least it gives me some tempi. And if he goes h5, which is definitely a move you could consider here with black, at least it weakens some squares. There's also e5, but after e5 I'm hoping maybe f5 is good. And this has to be too slow. I don't believe you can play this slowly in this position. I don't know why you assume I don't enjoy that, Tip V. The The only problem I have with Jan talking about Netflix series for 7 hours is that I experience a very strong FOMO in those moments, because there are currently Netflix series I am not watching when I could be watching them. Yeah, now we're crushing through, and a6 followed by g takes c4 was basically an honorable Subaru by our opponent here, which is appreciated but was not really demanded by events. Let's talk about poker books, says Perpetual Stalemate. Let's not, empty the clip at the first session of the first day. That doesn't seem the best course of action. What's your prediction for Firouzja's score? He will do okay. I don't think he will crush, but he will do okay. I expect him to finish in plus. He is clearly extremely good and improving, in leaps and bounds. Seems to become a better player every half a year, like noticeably better. Has a very, very good attitude. So, yeah, I mean, there's really no reason for him not to do well. Have I been following England versus South Africa? Of course I have. How could you, I mean, why is this a topic? How could I not be following England versus South Africa? Bishop d3, that's, what does my series say here? I think I said c5 equalizes, but, I mean d5, but I'm not entirely sure. I mean, you can start with c6, but I remember that basically there was more than one way to get a very playable position here. And that's about everything I can remember. I did win a nice game against him in Rapid Timo Act. That was basically the one reasonably human game I played in the entire 15 rounds of Rapid, which was basically I scored 0 out of 2 against him in St. Petersburg, and both of those games were so painful in their own different ways that when I got paired against Firouzja in Moscow, I thought I should actually concentrate and try to play like a human being for a change. And he did not play well against me. He played well against many other people, but not against me in that game. I don't know if taking with the knight here is required, but I think it should be okay, because you want to lengthen the diagonal of the g7 bishop as fast as possible. And this way, for instance, in this position, it's actually kind of awkward for him to develop the bishop from c1. He's still, of course, completely fine, but there shouldn't be any problems for black either. Will I play in the next candidates? I probably will be involved in some shape or form in the next candidates, but definitely not as a player. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I overestimated how nice this position is. I mean, it's fine, but I kind of assumed I might even be slightly better, and that probably was like way, way over optimistic of an assessment for me. I obviously want to play queen b4 here. He should try to play b3, or maybe something like queen b5 actually, but the important thing is not to allow queen b4 here, I think. b3 I can still play queen b4, but it doesn't force a trade, and there's also bishop d6 there in the end, which is annoying. I don't like this, but I also don't dislike it very much, and it feels to me like I should be doing something, and this definitely falls under the category of something. That's, the high-level chess insight you are very used to in this show, obviously. Yeah, allowing bishop c6 was, I even saw bishop c6 and then I thought, why should I bother stopping it? But I really should have. Luckily for me, the c8 square is covered, so in this position I can actually play something like rook b6 and I'm not losing. But I haven't played the previous, well, number of moves well at all. And I need to be quite careful now. Also, I need to speed up, but that's like a constant thing in these streams. That's never not true. I understand beer is a good remedy against cold. As far as I know, this actually is very, very untrue. Beer will make you cold worse. Yeah, I'm now fighting for survival here. I misplayed this game horribly. Like really, really badly. The whole d4 followed by trying to place the rook on c3 was just completely misplaced. It was. I don't like what he's doing either, but that's sort of neither here nor there. I think he's kind of panicking here because of how low on time he suddenly found himself, which is weird because that's normally how I feel. Yeah, it's really bizarre that I actually ended up winning this game both on time and eventually on the board, because I lost track of things completely. Somewhere around here, like if I play queen b4 here, which I think is what I should do, I'm perfectly fine. There's also probably a very good argument for actually including h5 as early as possible, maybe even immediately here, to never have to worry about the back rank. And if I want to put something on c3, there's maybe an argument for playing bishop c3 and then playing d5, d4. Just don't do what I did. What I did makes no sense whatsoever. Whiskey is good. Yeah, whiskey is generally good. Yeah. In before flood of medical advice from chess putters. I actually had to go to a specialist, so this is the one corner case where I don't actually need medical advice from Twitch chat. Sorry, Twitch chat. And as usual, my phone goes off because I'm an idiot. Whoa, I haven't seen this in quite some time. I think Miladinovic used to play this, and because Miladinovic played this constantly, we all actually had some kind of an idea against it. But this has been so long ago that I honestly don't remember like anything at all. It was like mid-90s when Miladinovic was mobile phone loss of the game. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong there at all, Dragaran. That's a very good point, well made. Will I ever play Bunraty again? I would like to, but it's kind of very difficult to fit into the schedule. And I don't know if I'm sort of on the record saying this, but like one of the major attractions for me of playing Bunraty was I could bring the kids, because there's a castle nearby, and in that castle they have wolfhounds. They have actual sort of proper Irish wolfhounds there, and we're all very much very much, dog people in my family, and I wanted to show them wolfhounds. And second time I played, I brought one child. The second one fell ill, like basically on the night of the flight, so we had to leave him at home, which was heartbreaking. And now they're 18, pretty much. They will be 18 this year, and I think girls interest them more than wolfhounds these days, regrettably. They will at some point come back to the profound interest in wolfhounds. I can promise them that, but for the time being, I think the attraction of showing them wolfhounds has diminished in nature. Go to Sweden, they have horses. Yeah. And possibly also spiders, but who knows. I'm not sure about e5, but there's definitely... I obviously only play e5 here because I can follow it up with bishop e6, and I stop bishop c4 from happening, and also the knight he has on f3 right now is some way away from reaching what is obviously an ideal square on d5. I'm thinking of actually going for the whole knight d4 tactic here. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have, because this simplifies the position quite a lot more than I wanted to. I can try mixing it. Let's see if we can... Yeah, bishop takes e3 is a very large mistake here. The reason I was unhappy was he quite clearly should have taken with the queen, I think. And because he hasn't, he will now end up with this position where he has a weakness on c3 for not very much. And also the decision to enter this endgame, even apart from the fact that it probably loses material on the spot, is just plain wrong. I think defending this position with the queens on and not allowing the intrusion along the d-file, it's still a very, very, the technical term probably is sucky position for white, but it's a lot more manageable than what my opponent ended up getting. And I should probably get into a habit of not saying he. It is 2020. I should be moving ever so slightly with the times on the whole gender assumption. Rematch offered. That's optimistic. Not that I didn't enjoy that game, but there is a reasonably long queue, and I'm not going to be playing the same opponent twice in a row. Any thoughts on the Magnus Ferrugia incident in their last Blitz game? I think there's been written, enough written on the topic everywhere that we don't really need to go into detail. But mainly, I think Ferrugia got slightly carried away with the emotion of the moment. He was clearly winning against the world champion, which is, a very, very exciting situation to be. And also, there's been, I think, enough attention has been drawn to the fact that on any online platform, which is where he plays a lot of his blitz, the final position would have been drawn. But I think upon reflection, he probably should not have filed that appeal. I don't think that appeal had, any merit. You can see why he was very upset. Anybody would be very upset in that spot. That's, perfectly good and natural, and I won't hear a word against being upset in that situation, but yeah, I don't think that appeal was merited. And it was obviously very annoying for the rest of the players, but even kind of taking that whole thing off the table, like he doesn't need to care about the you know, the wishes of the rest of the participants in the tournament who quite clearly really want to start the next game. But it's just that, you know, it's very, very unfortunate you kind of find a quiet place where nobody is filming you and swear for about 2 minutes and you move on. I think I even had this position on the board, maybe even more than once in tournament play. It looks very nice for black, but actually isn't. I think it's just like I should be playing something else against this particular King's Indian attack lines. Do you go on swearing sessions in such situations? I think it's very, very natural to vent, and you know, people vent in all kinds of different ways. But I think sort of not venting in that spot is a lot less normal than finding a way to vent and proceeding to vent. Will I be playing Legends of Runeterra when it comes out? Yes, I will be playing the absolute shit out of that game. Talking about swearing. That's not really a swear word though. Kind of hoping to even be streaming it a little bit, but like I never end up doing it, so perhaps I shouldn't even tease. This kind of went downhill quite quickly for my opponent, and the thing is, you play knight h4, the bishop retreats, and you actually do have to put it back on f3. There's really nothing wrong with putting it back on f3 here, and you should do it. And he kind of, I think it's difficult for people to just admit that the knight doesn't belong on h4 when it just went there, and he decided not to do it, and now he is kind of paying the price. I mean, knight takes c4 is a full pawn, but I would actually much rather completely destroy his kingside structure and hope that I give mate somehow. Actually, now that I look at this position, I don't know why I was so happy with it. There's never any mate here. He always has enough stabilization resources available. Like, he probably should have played queen g4, exactly. Queen g4 on the previous move was also a move he could definitely consider. Yeah, I should have just taken the pawn on c4. There's really no need for me to get all that fancy. Will I stay at Jan's? No, I'm staying at a very nice apartment, hotel place, very close to the office. And now actually I ended up losing a pawn here, and yeah, this did not go well. I mean, my position probably is still completely fine, but like I don't know why this is the position I have right now. Let's put it like this. There was absolutely no reason for me to even, you know, think about, you know, having a problem in this game. I might actually be somewhat significantly worse here, which is a, you know, a thing to behold considering where we were previously. This probably loses to queen g5. Let's not do that. Yeah, none of this was in any way required by how the game was going, obviously. I did manage to fix his weakness on h4, and I will be picking it up later, but once again, like, my position was just quite obviously technically winning at some point, and I managed to make it into this, which is really difficult to justify. And also, yeah, allowing before probably wasn't great. Although, like, how worried should I be? Let's just not blunder this bishop. Let's just maybe play f5 here. Because we don't really care if he takes on a5. I think that's fine, because those pawns never queen. Important not to blunder some kind of a mate somewhere, but like, even like, I think I just win this endgame, for instance, and quite simply, even like, it's not even a difficult conversion. Talking about opposite color bishop endgames. This isn't even hard, because all of these queenside pawns are just completely dead. But yeah, I managed to kind of tune out here a little bit, and then had to tune back in, because I made a very good position into a problematic one for no reason. Do I have some inside information about GM Alexeyenko? Is he actually promising beside his good results at... should we expect to see him in top 10 soon? Define soon. I mean, I rate him quite highly. He was my second in Grenke last year, so we've been sort of in touch, and I think he's a very promising player. But is he going to break into the top 10 in 2020? It's very far from obvious, but I think he will be a good player for years to come. It will not be an easy candidates tournament for him, obviously, and I understand, you know, the kind of bad feeling hanging over him, because a lot of people wanted to see MVL in the candidates, but it's really not Kirill's fault that it happened the way it happened, and I actually do think he's a very good player, yeah. Okay, let's take some slightly lower rated challenges. Do you think being able to take your own pieces would make the game more interesting? The thing is, I do have this, you know, sinus issues right now, so I wouldn't really attempt to, you know, sing or hum or do anything music related, but I would like to sing the, you know, the theme tune to the Clown Fiesta. As a reply to that question, no, I don't think it would make the game more interesting. Sasha to win the candidates? He's definitely a very serious contender. He's been playing really well last year, and I think, I mean, everybody will be naming Ding and Fabi as the main two contenders, and that's fair, I think, based on the run of a recent form. But I think Sasha is very much a topic there in that conversation. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm also trying to kind of pay attention here, because in these positions it's actually very easy to blunder e5 and resign, and I would very much like not to blunder e5 and therefore not to have to resign. How do you explain Fabi getting to below 2700 in rapid in one point? K factor? I think that's really not any kind of mystery. It's just K factor things. Once again, how worried should I be against e4, e5 next move? If I play bishop e7, does e5 bother me greatly? Not very greatly, not at all on this scale. Because if I take on d4, it will be difficult for me to play bishop e7 next move. Okay, so phase one complete. We castled and we are not dead. Excellent. Excellent. I don't know what this bishop c1 move is all about, but I'm going to just ignore it. Also, my reaction to bishop c1 was very bad, but I was so startled by the sudden retreat of that bishop to a square where it does nothing from a square where it was actually doing things that I got very startled. Meeting e5 with d5 is a possibility, but I don't particularly like those French type structures, and I don't feel like I understand them well enough. Two things which make me reluctant to go for it. Also, I really should start playing faster. I'm probably just getting mated now. Like f5 is incredibly strong in this position. Or this, yeah, I've been completely ignoring what my opponent is doing, and that normally is not, you know, a great idea in the Sicilian, any Sicilian. He actually had a very clear-cut plan, which I managed to not think of at all for a number of moves. It's lucky for me that, you know, Sicilian always has these built-in safeguards like this, where, you know, the queen will be able to protect the h7 pawn in many cases and so on. But yeah, that was not how you're supposed to be playing that position. Also, this is not how you're supposed to be playing this position. Like allowing knight d5. If I want to play knight e5 there, I should be doing it on the previous move, not on this one. Like this is beyond bad. But it looks like I might not get punished for it. Somewhat stunningly. I thought quite seriously about taking on c3 on the previous move, which probably was correct, but I'm just not playing very well at the moment. So yeah, I think my position was somewhere around here. My position is fine. And then my opponent actually had a very sensible idea here with this rook d3, rook h3. And first and foremost, knight b6, knight c4 is slightly insane because it does nothing there, and it much rather should be like somewhere around the king side. And also, like, I wasted 3 tempi allowing everything that he wanted. So yeah, I probably was in a lot of trouble in this game at some point. Whoops. I obviously have not eaten enough porridge to be able to leave the pawn all the way up to e4. This will have to be rectified. Do they read chat? If by they you mean me, they do read chat. Looks like I successfully destroyed my opponent's confidence by one e3, and this should now be a walk in the park. Yeah, what am I supposed to do against this? I guess we switch to the, let's call it a Grishuk anti-Grunfeld, right? e3 is way better than g5 against Eric. I do not disagree. That is a very fair statement. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Somewhat surprisingly, I don't think this is a bad Volga for white. I think, despite seemingly having made a very suboptimal move in e3, this is still a very, very playable Volga. I'm also wondering if I can just play d6 and go for like full punish here. Let's see what happens if I just play d6 here. I tried out the Grunfeld because of you, but it was too sharp. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Grunfeld is not for everybody, but it's still a very nice opening. I think actually he is perfectly fine here. If he goes something like knight e4, knight e4, bishop e4, and he takes on before that actually. That is very, very similar in themes to what I was describing. Yeah, I was kind of hoping, yeah, what I was hoping for is completely impossible actually. Okay, so what am I supposed to do here? What am I supposed to do here? Yeah, this is I mean, there was absolutely no need for me to go d6. Just taking on d6 was, I mean, Black would have a perfectly nice game, but what I'm doing here is obviously very much fraught with danger. I ended up with this, you know, seemingly very nice protected passer on b6, but I think it's nowhere near being actually good. And yeah, I will end up probably regretting many of my life's choices in this game. Although I think he probably should have taken on c3, because I think once again, you know, it's me with the he. I think my opponent probably underestimated here that the pawn on c5 is actually hanging in many variations, and I am once again back to being optimistic about my chances, because I managed to trade off some of my poor pieces. I managed to pick up a very important pawn on c5, and rook fc8, the move he would badly want to make in this position, is impossible because of b7. I'm wondering if b7 is still very strong here, actually. Actually, this is very greedy and not correct at all. I should not have done that. Now he has a very strong positional exchange sacrifice in reply. He goes rook a7, knight d7, and just rook takes b7. That was just so stupid by me. Also d takes c5. I should have just gone knight d3 or something. I'm very ashamed of myself here. This is not an exchange I should have cared about. Bishop takes b2, I am less convinced by. I think once again this is a bit, well, I almost play bishop a6. Actually, I can play bishop a6 there, because the knight will escape. Yeah, I think both of us are doing some really strange things here, and I ended up with a full rook up. Like, yeah, and now my opponent will realize that he miscounted the pieces somewhere. Once again, I said, yeah, I should. So just take on f8 here. This bishop is a monster. This bishop is very nice. This knight on b4 cannot be challenged by any of my pieces. I honestly don't know if white is even much better here. Probably somewhat better, but honestly don't know if it's much. And bishop takes b2 just went, you know, sent my opponent on a spiral where he ended up not even winning that knight back. The knight kind of survived and got traded for something else, which is not how it should work here. Okay. What else do we have here? So we're approaching the 1 hour mark, and my face is kind of alarmingly red and hot and bothered. I'm not bothered. Remember to drink a lot of water. That actually is very, very sound health advice. Yeah, I do need hydration, and there's no water anywhere around here. But I was assured by Jan that the local Rewe, I don't know how to pronounce that, should still be open when I'm finished. So I have a very nice kitchenette, so I'm going to be buying some food. How should I react to this? Like, this is kind of cute. How should I react? I mean, I can play c6 and play boringly, but nobody wants that, right? Will I have any other banters soon, Peter? Well, not soon. Obviously not during, not on game days when Vike is still going on. E6 is the MVL Nepomniachtchi game where MVL played G4 and then E4. Very, very exciting new idea, which I was very impressed by. But C6, like, I have a feeling I should know why this is not good, and I have a feeling I suspect why this is not good, but I don't know exactly. Or at least I don't remember. I'm sure I looked at this at some point, but I don't remember exactly. I feel like this probably isn't great because white can play e4, c takes d5, and e5, locking this knight out on h5. And if I play bishop f8, creating the g7 square, there's probably an exchange sacrifice that can happen there, which appears to be quite strong. In view of what I just said, what am I supposed to do here? Maybe this? Hang on a second. I think this works, no? Yay! And that wasn't Jan typing exclamation mark Polbort. I didn't have enough time to relog in on Twitch. But not being logged in on Twitch is very, very upsetting, obviously. I don't think bishop h6 was very critical there by my opponent. And I also don't really understand why he's driving me towards, let's say, g7, which is the square where this king needs to be. You don't know the half of it, Housemation. I actually made that command. Not only do I know how to type it, I made it. Using the exclamation edit, or whatever the proper syntax is. I had to look it up. I'm actually not that bright. Yeah. So back to the game. What do we do here? Like, there's a number of reasonably attractive options. I don't really feel like protecting this this knight on e4. Although maybe I should, but I kind of, if I don't feel like it, I'm not gonna. And my opponent, I think, quite correctly decides that developing is more important here for him than fighting for material, but let's continue popping the question. And also important to remember that he cannot actually castle kingside here. He can still castle queenside if he wishes, but not kingside, because the rook actually went to h6 and all the way back. Not only do I know how to use it, I also Googled how to add it. Exactly, perpetual stalemate. He definitely still does, Zuni. I have been playing it in beta. I mean, talking about Legends of Runeterra. We're up sort of winning here because BC3, I think we can do this now. Although I did blunder Queen E3, but Queen H6 check is not, it's a check, it's not mate. Queen E3 should still be played, I think, here, because knight takes d4, queen takes e3 is just so completely unattractive. But yeah, I should not have allowed this, but I don't think I need to panic about it. Because there's just not going to be enough attackers here. We can just develop, and eventually this queen has to go somewhere. Although, as I say all that, f4 is actually making me question the truthfulness of the previous statement quite significantly. The truthiness of my previous statement. Yeah, I don't know about King D2. I understand why he wasn't, why my opponent wasn't really very much enamored with the idea of playing King F2 and giving up the pawn on C3. But this way I will still pick it up, but I will also have an attack to go with it, which is even worse. Who's my favorite for the challengers? I don't actually know the field properly, so I can't answer that question. If you give me the field, SCDSU, I can attempt an answer. And yeah, we're all waiting for the unveiling of the new Giri joke. Our collective lives are definitely on pause here, while this is, the big event is almost upon us. 3,000. It's as if I can play Blitz if I want to. Okay, so Anton, Niels, Mamedov, Elyanov, Surya, Abdusatorov, Sarin, Lemmy, Anton Smirnov, Snake, Keimer, Lucas, but not Jordan. Jordan is in the A group or something? I guess Jordan's in the A group. Gennaro Sadvakasova and Varmerdam. It's a very strong field. It would be very interesting to see Abdusatorov do really well. But I don't know if that's his cycle, you know, to quote the famous Karpov quote. Abdusatorov, I think, is potentially extremely good. But I don't know if he is ready to crush a field like this yet. I think on paper, Anton probably has to start as a favorite here. I've been very, very impressed with how Anton has been playing recently. I think he is an extremely underrated player at his 2700, whatever his rating is. I think he is skill-wise quite a bit stronger than that. So I think Anton probably starts as a favorite. What's the next event I'm participating in as a player? I honestly don't know. I have a scary feeling it might be the Russian clubs in May, which is really, really not ideal. I prefer to sort of keep my hand in a little bit, and not playing for this long will be a problem. But yeah, I honestly don't know. Anton is 2694 exactly, but I mean 2694 is 2700. Like there's, you know, the difference is negligible. But I think he is stronger than that. I think he has been, you know, improving and is a very, very good player. I kind of really want to play c5, so, you know, this is one of those cases where, like, I want to do something, so let's just do it. I wouldn't count out Keimer with the Lecco prep. I think Keimer will do fine. I just don't think he'll win it. You know, I like Vincent. I think Vincent is a very promising player, but I think he just hasn't, you know, amassed enough experience, simply playing wise, to start winning these fields. I think he'll do perfectly fine. I would not be shocked to see him in, you know, in some kind of plus. But yeah, I don't think he's up to winning events like this just yet. And briefly on the topic of c5, because of ed4, ed6, knight f5, I think you should always take on c5 here, give up the pawn on e5 and play those structures, not these structures. Even though these structures are kind of fine for white as well. And I even have some definite issues winning back the pawn for the time being, but I don't really care. Do I? Like I can sort of force winning the pawn back, but I really don't feel like doing that. I think this is awkward enough for white to just play like this. Next moves. I don't even threaten queen takes d6 next move, obviously, because there's a lot of knight jumps. But I want to play, let's say, like rook fg8, rook ac8, then maybe knight f6, and then at some point the pawn on d6 will just fall. You know, our experience with, you know, Sicilians like this and also some Peer's positions, it teaches us that this pawn eventually falls. I actually quite like the inclusion of a4 before and knight e4. I think this is quite smartly played by my opponent. It doesn't really change my general feeling about the position, though I still think I'm perfectly fine here. It's okay, Peter, you're playing now. What other prep do you need other than Banter Blitz games? Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Is he? Ah, okay, there's not. No, knight c6 doesn't work. So what is the plan if I just take? This is the big question, right? What happens if I just take? Knight d6, I think, yeah, but this is, my opponent is forgetting this is a check, right? So what happened here is I was given a pawn and a move for nothing here, basically. Which is very generous of my opponent, I'm not gonna lie. Turned an unclear position, which I still kind of liked, into a position where I should be close to winning. How do GMs start to stay sharp on tactics? I wouldn't know, because I don't think I'm actually you know, a paragon of virtue in that respect. But I think practice more than anything. I don't know if your average GM does a lot of solving. You know, the obvious answer would be solving. Just do some systemic puzzle solving of some sort. You know, buy collection books. This works, right? This should work. Buy collection books, or, you know, there's a lot of solving resources online these days. But I don't know if everybody does a lot of solving. I know I don't do much solving. But I think as long as you keep your head in the game, you just do enough tactics in the process of analyzing, for instance, that you stay sharp enough. I think I've seen Divis in the list somewhere. Let me see if I can locate him. Where are you, Divis? No? No? the most exciting part of every Svidler stream. Svidler desperately scrolling through the list of challenges, trying to find something he had a glance at and then can't find again. So what we want is a 3-minute challenge, because I feel like my attention is flagging here a little bit. So I don't know if I'm up to playing a long game. Hikaru definitely does a lot of solving as at least part of his streaming routine. I don't know how much solving he does outside of streams, but yeah, he is very, very good at that. Yeah, the new fashion, bishop a4. Yeah, what I'm doing is actually, at some point I actually did spend some time looking at bishop a4, and it's not stupid, but it really doesn't refute the opening. But the way to prove it doesn't refute the opening is not to do what I'm doing. What I'm doing is, I'm pretty sure, pretty wrong. There's a number of ways of meeting this line which are a lot better than what I'm currently showing. I'm actually kind of annoyed with myself, because this position I don't actually much like. The pawn on e4 is supposed not to hang because white develops a lot of initiative around it, but I think it might actually be possible to take it, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, I also did check that at some point, but I don't remember the conclusions properly. But I think the way to go there is to play one of those lines which forces white to play c4. And when I first saw this idea of playing bishop a4, I thought, if black does something and white goes c2, c4, it gives white a very nice addition of something normal. But then when I looked at it closer, I kind of stopped believing that to be the case, and I think those positions are just fine. I also think that my opponent should have played c3, c4 at the first opportunity here. I'm very surprised that he hasn't. And surprised and happy, frankly. I think this improves my chances quite dramatically. That the fact that c4 followed by knight c3 has not been played. Although, like, even this position obviously is completely fine by white. I mean, for white, but it's also completely fine for me, as long as I keep the knight from reaching the d5 square, which I can do quite comfortably here. I mean, it's very equal, but that's fine. I don't know why I allowed queen g8. Mainly because I just didn't see the move existed, which is a bit of a problem once again. But yeah, now, like, you can maybe even make an argument that I'm ever so slightly better here, but not really. Like, you never make any progress here with black. And yeah, I don't know, but yeah, once again, this is just very, very equal. I don't think I'm ever breaking through. Let's just offer a draw here. this wasn't the most exciting game, but once again, like bishop a4 is a very serious topic these days. If you've been paying any attention to how the theory has been developing in the bishop b5 check variations, you would have noticed a lot of really strong players making this seemingly completely nonsensical move on move 4 here. And yeah, I don't think it's very playable. It might be the best option currently available, in particular against people who have done some preparation with black in this line, but you should not be getting a position like this with white. And in this position, I think you're very much expected to play c3, c4, and then just go for knight c3, knight d5. And if black doesn't have anything immediate, and I honestly don't know what that something immediate might even be in this position, black might find himself in a very, very unfortunate situation where you have to defend a position where there's really no counterplay for a very long time. Anyway, on to more cheerful topics, whatever they may be. How long is the pre-show tomorrow? 3 hours. No, it's not going to be 3 hours, Dodgy, and I apologize to you. I need all the beauty sleep I can get. That Dragaran do this some expert heads up. Heads up is a very, very interesting game, in particular when you're very, very deep. I have been advised on many an occasion not to play heads up because I don't understand what I'm doing, but it's just so interesting. I can't stop myself. So what's the most cute way to proceed here? Is it knight h3 or is it h4? Let's go knight h3. I think after h6, I think the point was we can now do this, and we get to castle kind of through bishop b7. The knight got developed somewhere, and we did not get completely sidetracked by bishop b7, which is a very useful thing to happen for white here, and we can actually start doing something proactive here. For instance, f4, f5. Will I do commentary on the World Championship match this year? I do not know. It's possible, but I don't have any concrete offers as of yet. Do I watch any non-chess streamers? I honestly don't watch very many chess streamers, Ali. I follow about 150 people on Twitch. So the answer is yes, basically. I start feeling like I should have forced mate here. It's probably a little bit too early to have forced mate, but it's very difficult to stop yourself from feeling like it. Dodgy doesn't stream enough. I actually do watch Dodgy. It's like one of those things where there's a saying in Russian, which I don't think exists very much outside of Russia, which it will sound strange because it will lose all of the, mellifluous tones of my mother tongue, but the saying basically is mice kept crying and getting stung, but they continued eating the cactus. So in the spirit of continuing to eat the cactus, I do watch Dodgy, but not very many other chess streamers. I think this is a free knight and I should take it, right? I don't see how I get mated here. And I definitely should not be getting mated after. Oh, hang on a second. That's actually quite. No, hang on. I can. There has to be a way I just win here, right? This is bizarre. Like, why am I not completely winning here? I assumed I would be completely winning in this position. Huh. I thought he has to take on e5 and then play rook d8, and I had actually an answer prepared for that. But I don't have an answer prepared to the way he played it. And I should make a move because well, for obvious reasons. I mean, queen e7, I missed queen e7 here. I calculated bishop c6 and bishop c8, but I missed queen e7, and I'm not even probably much better after queen e7, regrettably. But yeah, this just doesn't work for a number of reasons. This being, like, bishop takes 6 also wins. There was a much cuter refutation of bishop c8, which I will probably show you after the game, but queen e7 would actually make it into anybody's game. Important not to blunder this bishop on f4 though, which is something I did not appreciate fully when I was going for this line. But yeah, we should have things reasonably well under control now. So yeah, the point being, bishop c6, I mean, the simplest would be maybe to just take on c6 and take on d1, and I'm completely winning because I have rook and 2 bishops for the queen. After bishop c8, it seems like the same tactic doesn't work, because if I take on c8, I lose this bishop on c8 in the end. But I can play e6 first, and once he takes, I can take on c8, and this bishop, which is kind of dead, it comes back triumphantly from the dead, and then I lose the bishop on f4. Good God. This whole line is wrong. I was so proud of this. And then after king h7, rook a1, rook takes f4, I just resign. Okay. So I should do something else after rook a d8, I guess. I don't know what. Like, I guess I have to just bite the bullet and go g3, queen e7, bishop f5, bishop e5, queen h5, g6, and something. Maybe queen g4 here or something. But I didn't really like this. I'm very tempted to actually ask the machine here, because, I mean, this is a live stream. We can't really spend 10 minutes trying to figure it out live. But on a minute, this is a reasonably tricky position to play. I'm not even sure what the answer is. Maybe rook somewhere? Doesn't matter. It's all in the past. I'm gonna have to buy a cactus now, you people. Yeah, sorry. Bishop 6 instead of bishop f4. The problem is, yeah, we can't get back to that now, but the pawn on h2 is hanging is basically the issue. He can take on c6, and if I take on 6 with a knight, bishop takes h2 is mate in 3, which is not ideal. Cactus cosplay. I think we are headed further and further away from wholesomeness here. I regret everything. Thank you, Timoct. Bye. Yeah, like, if you play the Scandi, you're kind of supposed to have a clue, because of, you know, how much odds you are already giving people. And yeah, this is not the way to play this line of the Scandi quite clearly. Um, yeah, and the discussion of Mr. Dodgy's stream continues apace in the chat, which is something I think any sane person would want. It's January. Under my clothes, I wear more clothes. Yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Although it's been unbelievably mild so far back at home. Like the weather at New Year's felt like early October. Like light drizzle, zero snow, -1 to +3 temperature range. It's sort of fine, but it also isn't. And I don't even mean, in the whole Greta sense of the word. It's also like not very festive when there's no snow underfoot. Yeah, the queen will have to start running now. I'm kind of prompting him to play b4. I don't know if I need to. But good night, trans girl. Where is home? Home is St. Petersburg, same as it ever was. I'm really hoping the queen doesn't get lost on c4 here. I kind of assumed it will escape. Whoa, hang on. Isn't this a full pawn? I mean, after, let's say, something like rook a b1 here instead of rook fg1, of course, because clearly giving me this pawn on b4, and actually, like, it's like he has rook a b1 here, which means it's only one pawn. For a second there, I thought I might be winning even more. Hashtag winning. Actually, I should have played queen a5. I'm being a bit of an idiot here. Obviously, like it's a gift of such epic proportions by my opponent here that I kind of lost concentration for a second. Because it's actually kind of awkward for me to protect the pawn on b7, and I have to play b6, and now I have to actually calculate things like knight h4 and knight e5. And I think it's fine, because after knight h4, it's very important that I have this this resource of bishop g4 attacking the rook on d1. If my opponent plays f3 here, he actually locks down his own bishop on g2, and the pawn on c6 is no longer hanging. So that obviously works out very well for me. But I think just playing queen a5 after rook a b1 was a lot simpler, because white had more issues on the queen side there than I did with the queen on a5. Apologies. Yeah. This is a good move. I like this move. It doesn't change the fact that I am a full pawn up here, but I think it's absolutely the correct way to go for my opponent here. And knight e4, hope to play c4 as fast as possible. Actually, like, I'm debating giving the pawn back for structural advantages. I think it's actually correct here, or at least not incorrect. Let's let's not shoot for the stars here. As long as our moves are not provably incorrect, we are doing fine. Jan is back, which is great news, as always.
Is it?
Yes.
It's bad news for the users, because I was gonna inform you that we're going for dinner with the gang, so if you want to join, wrap it up.
Okay. Okay, one last one, or just wrap it up now?
No, one last one.
One last one. Okay, that works. Okay, obviously you understand I'm not passing up on dinner to hang with you guys, right? Like dinner. Look at me. Look at me. Dinner. Dinner is important. Let's lose a game. In that spirit, let's just lose a game and go eat. Twitch chat does not forgive and Twitch chat does not forget. I'm very, very well aware of that. I wonder which of the Indian kids is that. I feel like I should know, but I don't. What are you having? I don't know if I will actually be eating though. This is the disgusting part. What am I like? What am I supposed to be doing here? Why am I playing this line against somebody who knows what he's doing? So many questions. So very many questions, all of them unanswered. The thing is, I'm not sure I equalized, which is really not great with the white pieces in the Najdorf. I probably equalized, but I'm not entirely certain. Eat cacti. Yeah. Oops. Some inadvertent scrolling going on. I promise you, if there will be cacti on the menu, I will eat some. I don't know if I like queen a5. Obviously, depending on whether queen b4 wins a pawn here, which I kind of glossed over when I quickly played rook d1. I'm trying to play faster so as not to, you know, eventually lose on time. But if that leads to losing on the board, it will not be an improvement. And I really, really don't like rook f8 here. I think he is giving me way too much time here. Like, there's no way allowing me to play both rook fd1 and knight d2 was correct. He could have played d5 on either of the previous moves, for instance, or many other things like queen c7, rook d8, even rook d8 on the previous move, because now I think d5 actually loses material. Although maybe not. Maybe he can still play d5 even here. But this will be about as good a version as I could hope for. And like a much better version than I deserved, let's put it like this. What do I think about the whole legend thing? Yeah, let's plug the merchandise here for a bit. I think it's upsetting when you get flagged in a completely drawn position, but I think it was a bit of an overreaction. Judging by what Gata posted on social media afterwards, it was not intended to be a public reaction, quite clearly. But I also think he should just embrace it by this point. I was very surprised when he decided to feel aggrieved about the whole thing, because I think you know, becoming a meme in 2020 is something we should all aspire to, right? There's no way this is not every man's dream, right? Becoming a successful meme. I wasn't like, I don't know why I was so happy about any of this. Like I'm still fine, but I had a healthy extra pawn and now I don't, and I don't know why. Basically, although now I might be back to being better again, because I think he should have taken on b2 basically, because not only because it's a healthy pawn on b2, but also because knight e3 now appears to be a threat that is very, very difficult to parry. And suddenly I feel like I'm completely winning, which is very surprising and really completely undeserved. Talking about being flagged. Let's not get flagged in this game. Every man's dream of becoming Anish Giri's Twitter. Yeah? I suspect you were being sarcastic, but why? I think it's a good dream. Bishop g7, interesting. Huh. Okay. We need to create a threat of rook, let's say c7 check, and then we win. But so far we haven't created it, so we still need to be somewhat careful so as not to blunder anything. And now we can win more material, which is useful. All right, so I actually won this game, which is quite nice to end on a slightly positive note. And we'll go grab a bite. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back. Well, not back, but we will be on air sometime before 1:30 tomorrow to showcase the Tata Steel Vaikanzaya tournament. So tune in for that. Not premium this year. Open for everybody. Hope to see all of you at some point during that coverage. And on that note, cheers, everybody. See you tomorrow.